Have you been waiting for a breakthrough, praying for something to change, but nothing seems to happen? You've done everything you know how to do. You've prayed, you've believed, you've waited, but it still feels like you're stuck in the same place. Maybe you've been asking God for healing, for restoration, for an open door, but instead of progress, all you've encountered is delay. You wake up each day wondering when things will finally shift, when the struggle will end, when the promise will come to pass. Waiting can be exhausting. It can feel like everyone else is moving forward while you remain in the same situation, wondering if God has forgotten about you. The enemy whispers that nothing will change, that this is how things will always be, that maybe you misheard God or missed your opportunity. But what if I told you that God's timing is about to shift in your favor, that everything you've been waiting for is closer than you think, that what seemed delayed was never denied, and now the appointed time is arriving? There are moments in life when God moves suddenly, when things that seemed impossible shift overnight, when doors that were closed for years swing open in an instant, when the breakthrough you thought would never come happens faster than you imagined. In the Bible, we see this pattern over and over. Joseph was in prison one day, and the next he was ruling a nation. Hannah was barren for years, and then God gave her a son who became one of Israel's greatest prophets. The Israelites were trapped at the Red Sea, and within moments, God made a way where there was none. What if you are standing at the edge of that kind of breakthrough right now? What if everything that felt delayed was actually leading to a divine moment where everything shifts? God's timing is never random. When He moves with precision, with purpose, and with perfect timing. And if you're watching this right now, it's not a coincidence. God is speaking to you, preparing you, and aligning things in your life for a breakthrough that is closer than you realize. Stay with me, because in the next few minutes, I'll show you the signs that God's timing is aligning in your life, the indicators that He is about to move, the reasons why waiting was necessary, and how to position yourself so that you don't miss what He is about to do. Your breakthrough might be right around the corner, and by the end of this message, you'll have the faith and confidence to step into it with expectation. Imagine standing at the edge of a closed door, frustrated and tired. You've knocked, you've prayed, you've waited, but it hasn't opened. You've tried everything, faith, patience, persistence, but nothing has changed. You feel stuck in the same cycle, wondering if the breakthrough will ever come. You see others stepping into their blessings, moving forward, receiving the things they prayed for, while you're still standing in front of that locked door, asking, God, when will it be my turn? You start questioning if you did something wrong, if you missed your opportunity, if maybe God has a different plan that doesn't include what you've been asking for. The waiting gets harder. The silence feels heavier. But now, imagine that door suddenly unlocking, not just opening, but revealing a path you never expected, a way forward that you couldn't have created on your own, a blessing that is bigger than what you prayed for, a shift so dramatic that you look back and realize that every delay, every struggle, every tear was leading you to this exact moment. That's what happens when God's timing shifts. One moment, nothing seems to be moving. The next, everything changes. A job offer appears out of nowhere. A relationship is restored overnight. A financial breakthrough comes unexpectedly. A prayer that seemed unanswered for years suddenly becomes a reality. When God moves, He moves quickly, but only at the right time. And for many of you watching this right now, that shift is already happening. You may not see it yet, but something is shifting in the spiritual realm. God is aligning people, circumstances, and opportunities that you don't even know about. He is working behind the scenes, orchestrating every detail so that when the moment arrives, everything will fall into place perfectly. The waiting season wasn't wasted. It was preparation. Just like a seed planted in the ground, the process of growth happens in the unseen before it becomes visible. Right now, you might feel like nothing is happening, but the roots are growing. The foundation is strengthening, and the promise is developing beneath the surface. God is not just interested in giving you the blessing, He is preparing you to carry it well. He is ensuring that when the breakthrough comes, you are spiritually, emotionally, and mentally ready to handle it. Because a blessing given too soon can feel like a burden, but a blessing received in God's perfect timing is unstoppable. So, if you've been feeling like you're on the edge of something, like something is about to shift but you can't quite see it yet, this is your confirmation. The waiting is not in vain. The delay is not denial. The silence does not mean absence. God's timing is about to change everything for you, and when it happens, you will see why every moment of waiting was worth it. Habakkuk 2:3 says, "For the vision is yet for an appointed time. Though it tarries, wait for it. It will surely come, it will not delay." This verse is a powerful reminder that God's plans operate on a divine schedule. His promises are not random, nor are they forgotten. They are set for an appointed time, and when that time arrives, nothing can stop what He has prepared for you. His timing is never early, never late. It is always precise. Many times we struggle with waiting because we measure time by our own expectations. We assume that if something hasn't happened yet, then maybe it's not going to happen at all. But God does not operate on human deadlines. His schedule is based on eternal wisdom, on perfect alignment, and on His desire to bring things into your life when you are ready to receive them, and when they will serve His greater purpose. When the appointed time comes, everything aligns. Doors that seemed permanently closed suddenly swing open. Situations that looked impossible shift in an instant. Opportunities that you never saw coming appear out of nowhere. What felt like years of delay is suddenly transformed into a moment of destiny. Look at the story of Joseph. God gave him a dream of greatness, of leadership, of influence, but instead of stepping into that promise immediately, Joseph went through years of trials. He was betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, and thrown into prison. To anyone watching from the outside, it would have seemed like Joseph's dreams were completely shattered. He was forgotten, abandoned, and stuck in a place where nothing seemed to be happening. But then, in one single day, everything changed. God's timing shifted, and Joseph went from a prisoner to the ruler of Egypt overnight. What had felt like years of waiting suddenly made sense. Every trial, every setback, every moment of delay had been part of God's preparation process. If Joseph had been promoted earlier, he wouldn't have been ready. If he had stepped into his calling before the right moment, he wouldn't have been able to sustain it. But because he waited, because he trusted, because he remained faithful even in the silence, when God moved, everything fell into place perfectly. What if the same is true for you? What if what feels like a delay is actually divine positioning? What if the things you've been praying for are already scheduled for an appointed time, and you are closer to them than you realize? God is never late. When the time is right, He moves suddenly. One moment you're waiting, the next you're stepping into the blessing He has been preparing all along. The waiting is never wasted. The delay is not denial. It is all part of the process, leading you to the exact moment when everything aligns, and you realize that God's timing was always perfect. One of the most powerful things about God's timing is that when it shifts, everything begins to align. What once felt stuck suddenly starts moving. What seemed impossible becomes possible. But how do you know when you're stepping into a season of divine acceleration? There are clear signs that God's timing is changing for you, and if you're experiencing them, it means your breakthrough might be closer than you think. Sign number 1, doors that were once closed start opening. For a long time, it felt like every door you knocked on stayed shut. No matter how much you prayed, no matter how hard you tried, nothing seemed to move. But then, out of nowhere, things start happening. Opportunities arise that you never expected. A job, a relationship, a financial breakthrough suddenly appears. You meet the right person at the right time. What once felt impossible starts coming together effortlessly. That's a sign that God's timing is shifting. Look at Ruth. She was a widow, struggling to survive, with no real future in sight. She had lost everything, but when she chose to trust God and move forward in faith, she walked right into her destiny. She didn't force it. She didn't try to make things happen in her own strength. She simply obeyed, followed where God was leading, and at the right time, she stepped into favor through Boaz. Sometimes we push against doors that God is keeping closed because they're not the right ones. But when the right season comes, you don't have to force the door open. It will open on its own. If you suddenly find things shifting in your life, if unexpected opportunities are coming to you, pay attention. It could be a sign that you are stepping into God's appointed time. Sign number 2, unexpected challenges before the breakthrough. Many people assume that when they are in alignment with God's will, everything will be easy. But in reality, one of the biggest signs that your breakthrough is near is increased resistance. Right before something great happens, the enemy often fights the hardest. If you've been facing unexpected struggles, emotional battles, or sudden difficulties, it may not be a sign that you're failing. It may be a sign that God is about to move in a big way. The Israelites faced this right before their greatest breakthrough. After years of slavery, they were finally free, but suddenly they were trapped at the Red Sea. Behind them was Pharaoh's army. In front of them was an impossible barrier. It seemed like they were about to be destroyed. But what they didn't know was that they were standing on the edge of a miracle. Sometimes the greatest opposition comes right before the greatest deliverance. The pressure increases, the trials get harder, and everything in you wants to give up. But in that moment, God is setting the stage for a breakthrough that will not only bless you, but will also show His power in ways you never imagined. If you've been experiencing unexpected challenges, don't be discouraged. It's not a sign that things are falling apart. It's a sign that something greater is on the way. Sign number 3, a sudden peace. About the future, before God shifts your season, He often shifts your heart first. You may still be in the same situation externally, but something inside you begins to change. You stop feeling anxious about the future. You stop worrying about how things will unfold. Instead, you feel a deep, unexplainable peace. This is one of the clearest signs that God's timing is aligning in your life. The storm around you may still be raging, but internally, you feel settled. You know that something is about to happen. You may not know exactly when or how, but deep down, you sense that God is about to move. This is the peace that comes from trusting that God's timing is perfect. You no longer feel the need to rush, to force things, to figure everything out on your own. You realize that God has it under control, and you can rest in the assurance that when the time is right, nothing will be able to stop what He has planned for you. So if you've been noticing these signs, doors opening, resistance increasing, and an unshakable peace settling in your heart, get ready. You are stepping into a new season. God's timing is shifting, and when it does, everything will change. Keep believing, keep trusting, and get ready, because the breakthrough you've been waiting for may be closer than you ever imagined. Just because you don't see it happening doesn't mean it's not moving behind the scenes. One of the biggest mistakes we make in waiting seasons is assuming that if we can't see progress, then nothing is happening. But God doesn't work according to human visibility. He works according to divine purpose. Some of his greatest miracles begin in silence, in the unseen, in the moments when it feels like nothing is shifting. That is why faith is so important. Faith says, even though I can't see it, I believe God is working. Even though nothing looks different, I trust that he is aligning things in my favor. Even though I don't feel it yet, I know my breakthrough is on its way. If you need a reminder of what faith looks like, think about Elijah. After a long drought, God told Elijah that rain was coming. But when Elijah's servant looked at the sky, there was nothing there, no clouds, no wind, no sign of a storm. But Elijah didn't doubt. He told his servant, "Go look again." The servant came back. Nothing. Elijah sent him back a second time, a third time, a fourth time. Still nothing. But Elijah didn't give up. He knew that just because he couldn't see it didn't mean it wasn't coming. On the seventh time, the servant returned with a new report. There is a small cloud, the size of a man's hand. That tiny cloud didn't look like much, but it was a sign that something massive was about to happen. Within moments, the sky turned black, the winds picked up, and a heavy rainstorm came, breaking the drought. This is how God moves. First, there's nothing. Then, a small sign. Then suddenly, everything shifts. If you are waiting for a breakthrough, don't stop believing just because you don't see it yet. Go look again. Keep expecting, keep trusting. Your cloud may be forming even now, and when God's timing shifts, everything will happen quickly. One of the most powerful things you can do in a waiting season is declare God's promises over your life. The enemy wants you to focus on the delay, to become discouraged, to start doubting. But instead of speaking fear, speak faith. Instead of saying, "I don't know if this will ever happen," start declaring, "God is moving and his timing is working in my favor." Instead of saying, "Nothing is changing," declare, "God is aligning things for me right now." What you speak matters. Proverbs 18:21 says, "The power of life and death is in the tongue. Your words shape your mindset, and your mindset shapes your faith." If you keep speaking negativity, you will start to believe it. But if you start declaring God's truth, your faith will grow, and you will step into expectation instead of doubt. Another key to preparing for God's shift is to act in faith. God won't bless you with something you're not ready for. If you believe he is about to move, start getting ready. If you're praying for a new job, update your resume, start preparing your skills. If you're believing for a relationship, work on becoming the best version of yourself. If you're waiting for a financial breakthrough, start managing your current resources wisely. Faith is not just about waiting, it's about preparing. Imagine if Elijah had prayed for rain, but never prepared to receive it. If he had given up after the third or fourth time checking the sky, he would have missed the breakthrough that was coming. But because he kept looking, kept believing, kept preparing, he was ready when the rain came. So if you are in a waiting season, this is your time to get ready. Don't just sit and hope. Act like your breakthrough is already on the way. Because when God moves, things happen quickly. Doors open suddenly. Opportunities arise unexpectedly. Prayers are answered overnight. And if you are prepared, you will be able to step into your blessing without hesitation. Keep believing, keep declaring, keep preparing. Because when the shift comes, you will look back and realize that everything you went through was leading to this exact moment. Your season is changing. God is about to shift things in your favor, and what was once delayed is about to be released. The waiting, the silence, the frustration, it was never a sign that nothing was happening. It was preparation for this moment. When God moves, he moves suddenly. One day, Joseph was in a prison cell. The next, he was ruling Egypt. One day, the Israelites were trapped at the Red Sea. The next, they were walking through on dry ground. One day, everything seems stuck, and the next, everything shifts. And now, it's your turn. If you've been feeling stuck, get ready. Because when God moves, everything changes. The doors that wouldn't open before will suddenly swing wide. The things that seemed impossible will become reality. The prayers that felt unheard will be answered in ways you never expected. This is not just another season. It is a divine acceleration. What took years to build, God can shift in a moment. What seemed lost, God can restore instantly. What the enemy tried to delay, God is now releasing. This is not the time to doubt. This is not the time to give up. This is the time to prepare. Expect, believe, and declare that God's timing is shifting in your life. Because when the appointed time arrives, nothing can stop what He has planned for you. Comment, "I receive this shift." If you believe God's timing is changing for you, let this be your declaration of faith. That you are stepping into God's divine timing, that you trust His process, and that you are ready for what He is about to do. This message encouraged you. Share it with someone who needs to hear this today. You never know who is on the edge of giving up. Who needs this reminder that God is still working, still moving, and still making a way. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an encouraging word. And if this message blessed you, hit the like button. It helps spread this message to more people who need it. Your breakthrough is closer than you think. Stay expectant, stay faithful, and get ready, because when God's timing shifts, your entire life will never be the same.